The control room of the Intrepid was a whirlwind of activity. Monitors flickered, alarms blared, and the tension was palpable as the crew scrambled to keep the ship operational. Commander Arik, a seasoned veteran with steel-gray eyes and a calm demeanor, stood at the center, surveying the chaos. "Commander, shields are down to 20%. Lieutenant Harlow shouted over the din, her fingers flying over the console. Arik clenched his jaw. "Divert all power to the forward shields. We need to hold this position." Outside the viewport, the stars were obscured by the relentless barrage of enemy fire. The Allied fleet was on the brink of collapse, their ships scattered and struggling to maintain formation. The enemy, a ruthless and technologically superior force, had them cornered. "Incoming transmission from the surface, sir," Ensign Rylis reported, his voice strained. "Patch it through," Arik ordered. The screen flickered to life, revealing Dr. Elena Myers, head of the archaeological team, stationed on a desolate planet below. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with urgency. "Commander Arik, we've found something, an ancient AI buried in the ruins. It could be the key to turning this battle around," she said, her voice trembling with excitement and fear. Arik's eyes narrowed. "An AI? How soon can you get it operational?" "We're working on it, but we need time." "The enemy's close to discovering us," Dr. Myers replied. Arik glanced at the tactical display, weighing their dwindling options. "We'll buy you that time. Prepare for evac if necessary." He turned to his crew, his voice firm. "All units, defensive formation around the planet. We hold the line here. Lieutenant Harlow, coordinate with the ground team and keep me updated." The Intrepid shuddered as another volley struck its hull. Arik steadied himself, his mind racing with the gravity of their situation. The ancient AI could be their salvation, but they were running out of time. On the planet's surface, Dr. Myers and her team worked frantically, their hands moving with precision and urgency. The excavation site was a maze of ancient technology and artifacts, a testament to a long-lost civilization. In the center of the chamber lay the AI dormant and waiting. "Careful with those connections," Myers instructed, her eyes darting between the ancient control panel and the rising dust from the ceiling as enemy fire drew closer. One of her assistants, a young technician named Alex, glanced up nervously. "How much longer do we have?" Myers didn't answer, her focus unbroken. She knew they were living on borrowed time. As her fingers danced over the controls, the AI's core began to glow faintly. "Dr. Myers, the power levels are stabilizing," Alex exclaimed. Myers allowed herself a brief smile. "Good. Now let's see if this ancient tech can still work its magic." Back on the Intrepid, the situation was growing increasingly dire. The enemy's relentless assault was taking its toll, and the Allied ships were beginning to falter. Arik's mind raced as he tried to devise a strategy to keep the enemy at bay. "Commander, we're detecting an energy surge from the planet," Harlow reported, a hint of hope in her voice. "That's our AIAR, a spark of determination lighting his eyes. Open a channel to the fleet." He took a deep breath before speaking, his voice steady and authoritative. "All Allied ships, this is Commander Arik. We have a potential game-changer coming online from the surface. Hold your positions and protect the planet at all costs." The response was immediate. The Allied ships tightened their formation, their captains rallying their crews with renewed vigor. They knew the stakes and were ready to give everything to ensure the AI came online. Minutes felt like hours as the battle raged on. The Intrepid's hull groaned under the strain, and the bridge was a cacophony of alerts and commands. Arik's gaze remained fixed on the planet below, silently willing the archaeological team to succeed. "Commander, the AI is active," Harlow shouted, her eyes wide with disbelief. "We're receiving new tactical data." "Display it on the main screen," Arik ordered. The bridge fell silent as the holographic display flickered to life, revealing a detailed map of the battlefield with strategic points highlighted. It was more than just a map. It was a comprehensive battle plan designed to exploit the enemy's weaknesses. Eric's heart raced as he studied the data. This is incredible. It's like they predicted every move the enemy would make. Harlow nodded, her fingers flying over the controls. It's not just predicting, sir. It's adapting in real time. Eric allowed himself a rare smile. All units, follow the AI's tactical plan. Execute maneuver Delta 7. The Allied fleet responded with precision, their movements coordinated and efficient. As they followed the AI's guidance, they began to turn the tide of the battle. The enemy, caught off guard by the sudden shift in tactics, struggled to regroup. On the planet's surface, Dr. Myers watched the unfolding battle with bated breath. She knew they had given the fleet a fighting chance, but the outcome was still uncertain. Dr. Myers, the enemy is breaking off their assault on our position, Alex reported, relief evident in his voice. Myers nodded, her eyes never leaving the display. Let's hope it's enough. As the battle raged on, the AI's influence became increasingly evident. The Allied fleet, once on the brink of defeat, now fought with renewed purpose and coordination. The enemy's lines began to crumble under the relentless assault. Eric's voice rang out over the comms. Keep pushing. We have them on the run. The bridge erupted in cheers as the enemy fleet began to retreat, their ships scattering in disarray. The Allied forces, battered but unbroken, had held their ground. Eric stood tall, his eyes shining with determination. We did it, he said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. As the dust settled and the battlefield fell silent, the crew of the Intrepid knew they had witnessed something extraordinary. The ancient AI had given them the edge they needed, but it was their courage and tenacity that had carried the day. Dr. Myers, excellent work, Eric said, his voice filled with gratitude. You've given us a fighting chance. Myers smiled, her exhaustion evident. This is just the beginning, Commander. There's so much more we can learn from this AI. We might just have the tools to end this war. Eric nodded, his resolve unwavering. Then let's get to work. The sleek dropship streaked through the atmosphere of the desolate planet, its engines humming with a low, persistent whine. Inside, Lieutenant Kara and her elite team prepared for the mission ahead. Each of them knew what was at stake, and their faces reflected a mix of determination and urgency. ETA to the landing zone. 2 minutes, the pilot announced over the intercom. Kara glanced at her team, her sharp eyes taking in each member's readiness. All right, team, listen up, she said, her voice steady. This isn't just another mission. We retrieve the AI, we win this war. Stay sharp and watch each other's backs. Private Jackson, the youngest member of the team, swallowed hard. Lieutenant, what do we know about this place? Any intel on enemy presence? Kara nodded. Scans show the planet is mostly barren, but the energy signature from the ruin attracted attention. Expect resistance. Move fast, stay low, and keep your eyes open. The dropship touched down on the rocky surface with a slight jolt. The ramp lowered, and the team rushed out, their boots crunching on the gritty terrain. Ahead, the entrance to the ancient ruin loomed, half buried in sand and rock. Form up, Kara ordered, leading the way. They advanced cautiously, weapons at the ready. The air was thick with tension, each member hyper-aware of their surroundings. As they entered the ruin, the temperature dropped, and the air grew stale. The narrow corridor was lined with faded murals, depicting scenes of a bygone era. Kara's flashlight played over the walls, revealing glimpses of ancient human ingenuity. Looks like this place has been untouched for centuries, Corporal Davis murmured, his voice echoing slightly. Let's keep it that way, Kara replied. Move out. Deeper into the ruin, the corridor opened into a vast chamber. At its center, encased in a glass-like structure, was the AI. Its core glowed faintly, a relic of an advanced civilization. There it is, Kara said, a hint of awe in her voice. Sentinel, the AI that could turn the tide. How do we get it out? Private Jackson asked, his eyes wide with curiosity. Kara moved closer, examining the casing. There should be a release mechanism. Davis, check for any hidden panels or controls. As Davis worked, a low rumble echoed through the chamber. The ground shook slightly, dislodging dust and debris from the ceiling. What's that? Jackson's voice was tight with anxiety. Stay focused, Kara ordered. Davis? Got it? Davis exclaimed. A section of the wall slid open, revealing a control panel. He quickly worked the controls, and the casing around the AI began to retract. Excellent, Kara said, relief in her voice. Jackson, prepare the extraction device. Suddenly, the ground trembled again, more violently this time. Kara's instincts screamed a warning. We've got company. Defensive positions now. The team scrambled, taking cover behind the ancient stone structures. The sound of approaching footsteps grew louder, echoing ominously through the chamber. Contacts, coming in fast, Davis shouted. Enemy soldiers poured into the chamber, their weapons blazing. The team returned fire, the chamber lighting up with the flash of gunfire and energy blasts. Kara's heart pounded as she coordinated the defense. Hold the line. Jackson, how's the extraction? Almost there, Lieutenant, Jackson replied, working frantically. Just a few more seconds. Make it quick. Kara yelled, firing at an enemy soldier who had gotten too close. The enemy forces were relentless, pressing their attack with a ferocity born of desperation. Kara ducked as a blast of energy sizzled past her head. She returned fire, taking down another soldier. Davis, cover the right flank. We can't let them surround us. On it. Davis responded, shifting his position and laying down suppressing fire. Amidst the chaos, the AI's casing finally retracted completely. Got it? Jackson shouted triumphantly, hoisting the AI core. Let's move. Kara called out, fall back to the dropship. Davis, cover our retreat. The team moved as one, fighting their way back through the narrow corridor. Davis stayed behind, providing covering fire. Go, 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 he urged. They burst out of the ruin into the harsh daylight, the dropship waiting with engines running. The pilot waved them on urgently. Get in now. Kara turned back to see Davis sprinting towards them, enemy soldiers hot on his heels. Davis, hurry. With a final burst of speed, Davis dove into the dropship just as the ramp began to close. The pilot lifted off, the dropship ascending rapidly away from the danger. Inside, Kara and her team slumped against the walls, breathing heavily. Jackson carefully secured the AI core, his face flushed with adrenaline. We did it, Lieutenant. We got Sentinel. The ancient chamber hummed with latent energy, the walls lined with cryptic symbols that glowed faintly in the dim light. Lieutenant Kara's heart pounded in her chest as she stared at the dormant AI core. We're running out of time, she muttered, her fingers flying over the ancient console, trying to decode the activation sequence. Corporal Ramirez, her second in command, kept his eyes on the entrance. Hurry, Kara. Enemy reinforcements are closing in fast. Kara's breath came in short gasps as she worked. I know. Just keep them off me a little longer. Her mind raced, trying to piece together the fragmented data. The symbols were a mix of old Earth languages and alien scripts, a testament to the collaboration that had once thrived here. Suddenly, the console beeped, and a holographic figure flickered to life. The AI's form was sleek and humanoid, its eyes glowing with a piercing blue light. Designation, Sentinel. State your command, it intoned in a voice that resonated with authority. Kara's eyes widened with a mix of relief and urgency. Sentinel, we need your help. Our forces are being decimated, and we require your strategic capabilities to turn the tide. The AI's gaze seemed to pierce through her. Access to strategic databases requires the activation code. Kara's heart sank. "What activation code?" she asked, her voice edged with desperation. Sentinel's gaze remained steady. The activation code was entrusted to the highest-ranking officer of the fleet. Ramirez stepped forward, his face grim. "That means it was probably lost centuries ago. Is there any other way to gain access?" The AI paused, its processors humming. "An alternative exists. A direct interface with a compatible neural network could bypass the need for the code. However, the process is risky and could result in neurological damage." Kara's resolve hardened. "I'll do it. Just tell me what I need to do." Ramirez grabbed her arm. "Kara, are you sure about this? We don't know what it could do to you." She nodded, her eyes unwavering. "We don't have a choice. This is our only shot." Sentinel extended a slender metallic tendril. "Place your hand on the interface." Kara took a deep breath and pressed her palm against the cold metal. Pain shot through her as the AI's tendrils wrapped around her arm, connecting to her neural pathways. She gritted her teeth, focusing on the mission. Images and data flooded her mind, centuries of forgotten knowledge merging with her thoughts. She saw the battles of ancient Earth, the construction of colossal starships, and the strategies that had once made humanity a formidable force. Sentinel's voice echoed in her mind. "Downloading strategic protocols. Brace yourself." Kara's vision blurred as the data transfer completed. She staggered back, Ramirez catching her before she fell. "Are you okay?" he asked, concern etched in his features. She nodded weakly, her head throbbing. "I'm fine." "Sentinel, initiate the strategic protocols." The AI's eyes glowed brighter. Protocols initiated, commencing defense maneuvers. Outside the chamber, the Allied forces, struggling against the relentless enemy onslaught, suddenly found themselves supported by an unseen force. Turrets activated, targeting the enemy with pinpoint accuracy. Defensive shields flared to life, absorbing incoming fire. The tide began to turn. Kara watched the battlefield on a holographic display, her mind still buzzing with the influx of information. "It's working," she whispered, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. Ramirez grinned, his relief palpable. "You did it, Kara. You actually did it." The enemy, realizing the shift in momentum, began to regroup for a final assault. Kara's eyes narrowed. "We need to hit them where it hurts. Sentinel, can you pinpoint their command center?" "Affirmative," the AI responded. "Command center located. Initiating targeted strike." On the display, a section of the enemy fleet, highlighted in red. Allied ships redirected their fire, focusing their attacks on the critical point. Explosions rippled through the enemy formation as their command ship took direct hits. The enemy forces, now leaderless and disoriented, began to falter. Kara watched as their ships scattered, the once organized assault, now a chaotic retreat. "We've got them on the run," she said, her voice filled with determination. Ramirez clapped her on the back. "Thanks to you and Sentinel. You saved us, Kara." She smiled, exhaustion creeping into her features. "We did it together. Now let's make sure we finish this." Sentinel's holographic form shimmered. "Victory is within reach. Your actions have restored hope." Kara nodded, her eyes locking with the AI's. "And we'll keep fighting until peace is secured." As the Allied fleet pushed forward, driving the enemy back, Kara felt a renewed sense of purpose. The ancient knowledge and advanced strategies of the human fleet had given them the edge they needed. With Sentinel's guidance and the bravery of their forces, they had turned the tide of the war. The control room of the Intrepid buzzed with activity as Commander Arik stood before the central console, eyes fixed on the readouts streaming in from the newly activated AI Sentinel. "We don't have much time," Arik said, his voice resolute. "We need to implement these schematics now." Lieutenant Kara leaned over the console, studying the data. "These weapon designs are incredible. If we can get them operational, we'll have a fighting chance." Sentinel's holographic form flickered beside them. "I have analyzed the enemy's tactics. Integrating these weapons into your fleet will significantly increase your odds of success." Arik nodded. "Get to work, Lieutenant. We need these upgrades ready before the next attack." As Kara and the engineering team rushed to implement the new technology, Arik turned to his communication officer. "Send a message to all Allied ships. Inform them of the upgrades and prepare them for immediate action." The crew worked tirelessly, the urgency of the situation driving them to new heights of efficiency. The clamor of tools and the hum of machinery filled the air as the Intrepid's weapons systems were overhauled. Plasma cannons, energy shields, and advanced targeting systems were installed, transforming the ship into a formidable force. Hours later, as the final adjustments were made, Arik gathered his senior officers in the briefing room. "The enemy won't expect us to strike back so soon," he began, his gaze sweeping over the assembled faces. "We'll use that to our advantage. Sentinel has identified a key enemy supply line. Disrupting it will cripple their ability to maintain their offensive." Captain Ellis, a seasoned tactician, leaned forward. "What's the plan, Commander?" "We hit them hard and fast," Arik replied. "Kara, you'll lead the assault team on the ground to destroy their supply depot. Ellis, you'll command the fleet to engage their escort ships and keep them off our backs." Kara nodded, determination etched on her face. "We'll get it done, Commander." As the briefing concluded, Arik took a moment to himself, staring at the stars outside the viewport. The burden of leadership weighed heavily on him, but the stakes were too high to falter now. The new technology was their lifeline, and they had to wield it with precision. The fleet mobilized swiftly, and soon they were en route to the enemy supply line. The Intrepid led the charge, its newly upgraded systems humming with power. Arik stood on the bridge, watching as the enemy ships came into view. "Engage the enemy," he ordered, his voice steady. "Let's show them what we're capable of." The Intrepid's plasma cannons roared to life, sending bolts of searing energy streaking through space. The enemy ships, caught off guard by the unexpected ferocity of the attack, scrambled to respond. The Allied fleet pressed the advantage, their coordinated strikes decimating the enemy's defenses. On the ground, Kara and her team infiltrated the supply depot under the cover of darkness. Moving swiftly and silently, they planted charges on key structures and equipment. The tension was palpable, each second stretching into an eternity as they worked. "Charges set," Kara whispered into her comm. "Ready to detonate on your command." Arik's voice crackled back through the earpiece. "Stand by. We're almost in position." The fleet continued to engage the enemy ships, drawing their attention away from the ground team. Sentinel's strategic guidance proved invaluable, predicting enemy movements with uncanny accuracy and coordinating the fleet's responses. Finally, the moment came. "Now, Kara," Arik commanded. Kara hit the detonator, and a series of explosions rocked the supply depot. Fire and smoke billowed into the sky as the enemy's lifeline was severed. The ground team retreated under cover of the chaos, making their way back to the extraction point. On the Intrepid, Arik watched the devastation unfold on the view screen. "All units, fall back to defensive positions," he ordered. "We've done what we came to do." As the fleet regrouped, the enemy forces, now disorganized and weakened, began to retreat. Cheers erupted on the bridge, a wave of relief washing over the crew. Arik allowed himself a rare smile. "Good work, everyone. Let's head home." Back on the Intrepid, the mood was one of cautious optimism. They had struck a significant blow against the enemy, but Arik knew the fight was far from over. They would need to continue leveraging their newfound technology and strategy to turn the tide for good. Kara approached him on the bridge, a tired but triumphant look on her face. "We did it, Commander. Their supply lines are in shambles." Arik nodded. "Yes, but we can't let our guard down. This is just the beginning. We need to keep the pressure on." Sentinel's holographic form appeared beside them. The enemy will adapt, but so will we. With each victory, we gain more insight and strength. The Intrepid tore through the chaos of space, its sleek hull gleaming under the starlight. Commander Arik stood on the bridge, his face a mask of determination. "Kara, we need that EMP device destroyed. It's our only chance," he said, his voice steady despite the turmoil around him. Kara nodded, her eyes fierce. "I'll lead the strike team myself. We won't let you down." Arik watched as she departed, his thoughts a mix of hope and fear. The enemy's secret weapon loomed ahead, a massive structure bristling with energy. If they failed to destroy it, their efforts would be for naught. The strike team's shuttle cut through the void, weaving between enemy fire. Inside, Kara briefed her team. "Stay focused. We hit fast and hard. No room for mistakes." As they approached the EMP device, Kara felt a surge of adrenaline. The shuttle landed with a jolt, and the team spilled out, weapons at the ready. They moved swiftly, taking down enemy guards with precision. Inside the control room, Kara's fingers danced over the console, decrypting the device's security protocols. "Cover me," she shouted as the enemy forces closed in. Her team formed a defensive perimeter, blasters firing. Back on the Intrepid, Arik monitored the battle. "How's it looking, Sentinel?" The AI's voice was calm. "Kara is making progress, but enemy reinforcements are inbound. We need to hold them off." Arik gritted his teeth. "All units, focus fire on those reinforcements. Buy Kara some time." The Intrepid's cannons roared, creating a barrage that slowed the enemy advance. Arik could feel the weight of every second ticking by, each one bringing them closer to either victory or defeat. Kara's heart pounded as she worked. Almost there, just a little more. Her screen flashed green, and she smiled grimly. "Got it?" Setting the charges. As she planted the explosives, the control room door burst open. Enemy soldiers poured in, weapons blazing. Kara's team fought valiantly, but they were outnumbered. She set the final charge and turned to her team. "Fall back, now." They raced back to the shuttle, bullets and lasers whizzing past. Kara dove into the pilot's seat, her fingers flying over the controls. "Hold on." The shuttle lifted off, just as the EMP device erupted in a blinding explosion. On the Intrepid, Arik let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "Kara, report." Her voice crackled over the comms. "The device is down. We're on our way back." Arik turned to Sentinel. "Time to finish this." The AI's holographic form nodded, targeting enemy command ship. The Intrepid's main cannon powered up, energy crackling along its length. "Fire," Arik commanded. A beam of pure energy shot out, piercing the heart of the enemy fleet. Explosions rippled through their ranks as ships disintegrated. The remaining enemy forces, leaderless and demoralized, began to retreat. Cheers erupted on the Intrepid's bridge. Arik allowed himself a small smile, but he knew the fight wasn't over. "All units, pursue and eliminate remaining threats. Secure the area." As the Allied forces mopped up the remnants of the enemy, Arik turned his gaze to the stars. The battle was won, but the struggle for peace would continue. They had proven humanity's resilience and ingenuity, but there was still much to be done. Kara and her team returned to the Intrepid, greeted by applause and gratitude. Arik met her eyes, a silent acknowledgement of their shared victory. "Good work, Lieutenant." She smiled, weary but triumphant. "We did it, Commander."